Hi everyone, hi traders. You're all very welcome to another interview here at the Alpha Capital Group. So today we've got a lovely gentleman by the name of MillzFX based in the US. Good afternoon, sir. How are you doing? Very welcome to the
I'm
call
good,
today.
man. I'm good, man. How you doing?
I'm very well. I'm very well, my friend.
Good.
Very well. Good to have you on board at last. Good to obviously touch base and speak with you properly. Have a proper conversation about the markets and all about you as a trader and what your process entails. So I suppose without further ado, do you want to maybe introduce yourself to the audience?
Yeah. So my name is MillzFX. I've been trading for a couple of years. Been trading forex for a couple of years. I started in options. Got into the crypto scene for a little bit. Found out real fast that I couldn't make a lot of money with the money I had to be able to, invest with. So kind of started looking for different paths for myself. Really wasn't the employee type. Um, I like my time, like to spend time with my family. And so, long story short, I was working a construction job. I was a project manager. And so basically my job entailed I'd go from job site to job site, and I was trading options here and there, making a little bit of money, put it right back in the market and blow it. And I'd seen Forex online because I remember I Googled basically jobs to trade options, right? Or how you could get capital to be able to trade options. And that's how I first saw Forex.
Mm.
And I didn't have any clue about it. So I thought it was like a new crypto type market, and I just kind of stuck away from it. But I was at work one day, and I walked in, and the superintendent of the job site, he was sitting in the back room, sitting on his computer. And so I walked in and just was chatting it up with him and asked him what he was doing, and he said, I'm in a trade right now, blah 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 blah. I was pretty good friends with him, so I wasn't really mad at him, when he wasn't doing what he was supposed to do. But as soon as he said trading, it sparked my interest because that was something that I was into.
Mm.
So I asked him what he was trading and blah 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 blah, and he said that he was trying to, make some money to go back home to Florida, and he traded forex. And so I was asking some questions and whatnot, and I came around the table and I looked at his screen, and I could see now I know MetaTrader Terminal. And he was kind of showing me around and telling me what he was trading. And if I believe right, it was, I think, AU or GJ or something like that. And I looked at the bottom of the screen, and that's where he showed me that he was up about $2,800 or something like that. I said, man, how long you been in this trade? He said, about 15 minutes, 20 minutes. I said, you could take that right now. He said, yeah, I could take it right now. And, 2 weeks or so, I'd get 80%. I believe he was with FTMO at the time. I might get about 80% profit split out of everything I make. From that moment on, it was game on. It was
Yeah.
game on. So I
Sparked your
left,
interest.
and yeah, I think that night I've always been just a person that just dives in, right? Sometimes it's really, really good. Sometimes it burns me.
Mm.
So if I'm interested in something, I go,
100%.
full-fledged in 120% until I crash and burn and hit a wall.
Mm. Mm.
So I think that night I actually bought a challenge. Never once had traded forex, nothing. And safe to say that I think it was an FTMO challenge, and I think it was a 100K account, so it was like $500, and I couldn't really afford that anyways. But and I thought that my experience with options or whatever would make me some type of magical trader.
Yeah.
And I think I saw one trade. I think I saw about like 4 grand, something like that, and I didn't close it. I didn't close it. It came all the way back and ended up securing a loss. And then I was mad about the loss, and just long story short, I blew the account. So
Mm.
that's kind of how it started for me. Um, I was somebody that, it took me to lose enough money to really make quality changes. And so I'm happy to be where I am now, and it's been a long road, and I wouldn't trade it for anything. Wouldn't trade it for anything. So nowadays I just try and help other people. And, this is an industry where there's a lot of fakes, there's a lot of
Absolutely.
money grabs, and there's a lot of good people that are involved in wanting to trade Forex. And the reason we all come to Forex is we all have a financial hole in our life somewhere, right? And the goal is to try and make some type of money to make that situation better for yourself and your family, and ultimately get to live a dream life that you want to live, or with your family. And so I really wanted to be the type of person that, I said, if I'm going to do this, I'm going to do it right. And I'm going to, just give the real raw and true version of this,
Mm.
so I didn't really find anybody like that when I was looking to learn things.
Mm.
And so that's really my mission. That's really my mission.
Uh,
So
not really the easiest of journeys, because of course you're trial and error, finding what works for you, trying to find some sort of diamond in the rough type scenario where
that's right.
99 times out of 10 you might crash and burn, but then you're just trying to learn from your lessons, learn from your mistakes to try and implement a strategy.
That's right.
And
Yeah.
I suppose, how long have you been trading now in the markets, if you don't mind me asking?
Forex markets, strictly Forex markets. I ain't touched anything else in a little over 2 years. So
Okay.
yeah, I've been full time now for about 4 months. Um, yeah, yeah. So I've been
And still working
involved.
on it.
Yeah, still working on it.
Yeah,
Yeah,
for
I've
sure.
been involved in trading and in the markets. I'd say since about like 2017, 2018. I thought that I could buy penny stocks and hundreds of a cent of a crypto coin and it would take off.
Yeah.
Just like anybody else.
Yeah.
So
So you're learning all about what really it takes, the hard work, the dedication, the focus to really actually achieve not even massive success, but even just borderline profitability. And then you develop it from there, really, isn't it, the process? And I
really is.
suppose, yeah, and I suppose in terms of your strategy, would you see yourself as a higher time frame trader, a lower time frame trader? What do you generally look at from a day-to-day perspective?
I'm in and out. I'm in and out. Yeah, I trade, pre New York and New York Open. Um, I like to trade London here and there. I kind of have a love-hate relationship with New York sessions just because all the news all the time. But yeah, I enter off the 5 minute, purely. And with that being said, how fast I'm in and out. I will look down to the 1 minute. For certain gaps on certain, correlating pairs, and whatnot. So yeah, I trade off the 5 minute. I look at the 1 minute. I look at the higher time frames just to make sure that I'm not coming into any type of adversity, on the opposing side of the trade that I'm
Perfect.
trying to
Yeah.
take.
Yep.
But other than that, yeah, just scalp. And the majority of my trades, I've had some, that run for a couple hours, and you know those ones get me irritated. I hate when I enter and then it just wants to range. For
For a
most of
while,
the
yeah.
time I'm in and out. Within 30 minutes to an.
And do you trade predominantly the dollar crosses, the dollar FX pairs predominantly, or what assets are you currently trading at the minute?
Yeah, so my pairs are GU. I love GU. I trade EU as well. I also trade USD JPY, AU, and OddCat. And OddCat and AU just used to be my absolute favorite, but I'd say about the last month and a half, they haven't looked too good. So it's really just been GU, EU, and then my little secret weapon is oil.
Okay, interesting. And I suppose trading oil and then trading FX, that's a bit of a change, isn't it, really, in traditional markets, for sure.
Yeah, you really have to be open,
Mm, mm,
I really had to learn to not marry anything, yeah, it was definitely not something I started with.
mm.
But as I grew into myself and kind of honed in my skill set, I've moved over and branched out a little bit. And some people trade
Progressively.
oil, some people trade gold, some people trade the NASDAQ. I
Mm.
like oil. I like oil. I've
Interesting.
traded US 30, NASDAQ, and gold. I've made some money, but I've also lost a lot of money. So
Yeah,
I
yeah.
kind of stick away from those three.
And in terms of your strategy, are you just more technically minded or price action driven? Do you incorporate volume profiles? Do you look at fundamentals? What would be the backbone of your strategy in terms of entry and I suppose management of trades?
It's purely supply and demand.
Okay.
Um, that is, when I first started trading, I learned, support and resistance and stuff like that. And I was dabbling with it, but it didn't really fit my personality. So I was looking for other strategies, and there was, ICT strategies and whatnot. I believe every strategy works, but they didn't really fit me. So I found supply and demand, and just kind of, when I was that trader that didn't really know any type of technical analysis, I was in a way trading supply and demand. Once it would leave a certain area and come back, I would try to get back in for the retap or retouch and ride that move again. So learn supply and demand. And that's purely all I trade. So I just look for a certain area, momentum candles breaking out of that area, or break a structure. There's a lot of little tidbit, type correlations to it, but yeah, mostly a breakout, break structure, come back, show signs that, it's rejecting a certain area. And then I watch for correlation. So, when I trade USD pairs, predominantly a different currency first. So GU, EU, AU, and, et cetera.
UJ.
I look
Yep.
directly over to DXY. And so when I'm looking to take a demand zone on GU, I want to see DXY at a straight supply zone.
Mm.
And so once that happens, that makes it a really high quality setup once you have other confluences in order for it to flip again.
Certainly.
And so I trade like that. My entry, I need a touch of my zone, right? A lot of times my zone will be, for example, GU 1.29800, right? And that's institutional level. And so I want to see just basically all these things line up. I have the bearish chart in the world. I don't use any indicators whatsoever.
Mm.
I just purely trade supply and demand and price action, and just watch market structure. I mean, that's really, really all I do.
And
Yeah.
often keeping it simple is the best thing you can do, because when you add in all of
Yeah.
these indicators, you're then not able to separate the wood from the trees, and then it becomes very confusing whether you want to be buying or selling, or
That's
it's going
right.
to go in circles, really, isn't it?
Yeah. Yeah.
Is for sure. For
When
sure.
I
Yeah.
and I always just figured, like, if I made some type of indicator that really worked and it was up to date and it didn't lag, and the win rate just off that one indicator, or potentially would make your strategy paired with that indicator a lot higher, I would not be giving that thing away. I
Mm.
wouldn't even tell a soul about it. I would open up a second mortgage or whatever it would be, and start my own, little hedge fund or something like that
Yeah.
with my own indicator. So I've just always been kind of weary of them. I believe they can help. I believe that, it can kind of give um, clarity, on kind of what you already think is going to happen. So we can give some more confidence on the setup for sure. But yeah, I don't really use them. I keep it simple. Um, and then in inside trade management. So when I target to take profit, it's where price has already been before.
Mm.
So prices come down, and I'm looking for a supply setup, which is up top. Once it comes down, break structure, where it reverses and comes back to my zone is now either a support, or it would be a support level,
Mm.
right? And so if I'm going to continue on in that trend, once I get in this supply, if it's going to continue in this downtrend, it's going to have to hit this area again.
Mm. Mm.
And so it's just stairs, and I just follow the staircase, and
Mm.
that's
Keep it simple.
predominantly it. Yeah.
Yeah, certainly.
Um, I've found a way to, um, some months is different, but the majority of the win rate around the time is about 75 to 78%. Um, 1 to 2 is minimum.
Okay.
Risking 1%. So sometimes where I get burned is, I'll get a little aggressive and risk a little 2%.
Certainly. Yeah.
Um,
That's a battle every trader has.
yep.
For sure.
Sometimes I'll get a little greedy, and
Yeah.
I either, it works out for me, or I pay the consequences for it. But yeah, that's really, really me in a nutshell. There's a lot of, little bits and a lot of things that, trading this strategy comes with experience. It doesn't stress me out, but I genuinely watch every single candle, the way it moves. I've come to find out, or come to learn, fake breakout candles, just by sitting and watching,
Mm.
for years.
It's experience.
Yeah. Some people would sit and watch TV, play video games. I would just sit here and literally just watch the markets, or I'd sit in bed on my phone and just watch the
Mm.
markets. And so price action, we're just watching pure price action, the way the candles are moving. And I mean, that's genuinely kind of it without, going into the whole strategy.
Whole strategy, yeah, for sure. Interesting, very interesting. And would you take many trades in a day? So, like, if you're trading lower time frames, would you take 2 trades a day, 3 trades a day? Do you think? Would it be 5? Do you have a limit in mind in terms of exposure? Because obviously, the more often you trade, mathematically speaking, the more likely you're to have losses, of course. But do you have a
One,
certain, yeah? Do you have a certain threshold that you look at every day?
one,
One, just
that's it.
one trade a day.
One.
Keep it simple,
Yep.
huh? Keep it
Yep.
simple. Interesting, interesting. So,
I'm not doing this to give my life to Forex. I'm doing this to
mm,
get my life back from Forex to be able to do anything I want to do.
mm,
If that means if I just trade in the morning and I just want to lay in bed and not do a thing for the entire day, that's what I'm gonna do.
mm,
Um, I've learned that, and not to say that there's times that I don't trade twice, right? There is sometimes like, with my strategy and the way I manage my trades inside of the trade that I may have gotten stopped out break even because of some type of little rejection. And then I may re-enter again within the same setup.
mm,
Um, but I've had my day with making some money and giving it right back.
certainly.
And then, at the end of the day, you could sit there and ask yourself, okay, well, let's just say on a 100K account, I just made 2%. And say I just made 2,000.
Mm,
And now I see this trade that looks really, really good, or the trade that I just exited out of is still going my way. So let's look for a reentry back in. And you have to ask yourself, okay, well, what's the potential P&L here?
mm,
Is it worth it? If I do lose what I just made, how am I going to feel about that? And more times than not, when I would enter the trade and then I would lose exactly what I just made, I wouldn't even be happy about what I still had left over, right?
mm,
Even if I made 2%, I lost 1%, and I still had 1% profit, I'd be mad. I feel
yeah.
really upset with myself that I gave it back.
Mm.
Um, and then even if you do win, that's great, but it's not always promised.
It's
You
not.
do something enough times and you play the odds enough times, the likelihood of it not going in your favor is a lot higher.
Yeah, certainly, certainly. Well, trading is statistical probability, really, at the end of the
That's
day,
right.
isn't it? Yeah,
That's
for
right.
sure. And I suppose, like for you, it's like a sprinter. He does months and years of training for what could be a 9 or 10 second race, and it's all of the work, all of the preparation beforehand, and then
It's crazy.
it's a
Yeah.
very similar, I suppose, retrospect,
Yeah.
like in terms of that, which I find really interesting. So it's all about the process, the mindset, the discipline, and then
Yeah.
that trade it might be on for 10 minutes, it might be on for 5, it could be on for an hour, depending obviously on the market conditions. But
That's right.
in the case of, well, it's all of the practice, all of the process behind yielding
Yeah.
those positive results, and that's really the nutshell. But I suppose
And
with that
through that, it may not even win. Sorry to cut you off, but through
yeah,
all that, it may, I'd like to say, I haven't counted my chart time on the hours, but my hours of chart time, but I'm well over 10,000 hours. I would sit here. There was a time in my life I sat here from the moment I woke up 7 a.m., 8 a.m., and I sat here all day unless I had to go use the bathroom, eat, get something to drink, or until it was time that my eyes hurt, I had a
mm,
headache, and I had to go to bed
yeah,
every single day. Every single day.
it's
Just watching and watching and
and
watching and
and learning.
watching and watching. Just not even paper trading. Not even paper trading. It would just be, putting the stop loss or the long tool or the short tool just on the chart and just watch. Just watch. Okay, if this happens, why does this happen? This happens. What's the conclusion of
Mm,
that type of activity over and over and over and over and over?
mm,
And so to think that, I've dedicated genuinely two strong years of my life, over 2 strong years of my life, just to this. Right. I was trading beforehand, but it was never, like this. Right. So to think that I've done all that for, game day
mm,
is potentially anywhere from 5 minutes, not even 5 minutes if you get stopped out immediately to maybe an hour. It's
mm,
it's pretty bizarre.
mm.
It's pretty bizarre.
And it all goes back to really your process, because the more time you put in, the more you get out of it, I guess, in terms of your learning side. I don't mean obviously in terms of the profitability, because nothing's ever guaranteed, but in
Right.
terms of the learning, the development, the information that can be absorbed in that regard. So
Yeah.
you would have been. Would you do much back testing and forward testing?
Yeah. So there was a time, that I've kind of slowed down my back testing a little bit, right? Um, but it was pretty much, after every win or loss, after every trade I'd take, I'd look back, right back on the trade immediately. Um, and see what I did right, see what I did wrong. Was my entry correct? Was my exit correct? Could have been better here. Um, and I have such a tight trading plan, that I actually have, my entire strategy sitting right here on a
Mm.
sheet inside of a laminate, paper protector, sheet protector, and I go through with an expo marker and mark it off. My students have it as well. So to the point, even when you lose, if you didn't put a check mark on one of these things,
Mm.
more times than not, you can see exactly just by looking at the sheet why you lost. And sometimes everything could be in line and you can still
To
lose.
lose, yeah, yeah,
And I'd rather take a loss by knowing that it was just the market being the market instead of
discipline.
me not putting my stop loss in the right spot, missing certain confluences, being greedy, making up the trade setup in my own head, because you can do that. I mean,
Mm.
you can look at a chart long enough and see both buys, buy positions and sell positions.
Simultaneously, yeah, for sure,
Yeah,
for sure.
yeah. And to the point you just kind of, it's what they say, analysis paralysis or something like that. So
Yeah.
yeah, so I do a lot of back testing. I believe back testing builds confidence. So if I'm struggling, if I feel like, sometimes you can do something so long and do the same thing over and over and over, that we are human. The, I guess you could say, level of intensity or level of execution can start to go down at some point. And so, when I start to feel that, like, telling myself, hey man, you're starting to do this a little bit more and more and more lately. Why are you doing that? And going back to back test and um, just spend time back on the charts, without the emotion of actually being in the trade, it helps.
Mm.
It really does help. So I'd say I typically spend, I'd say anywhere from 5 to 10 hours a month back testing now. And the reason I do that is because, I've found my way in trading, to be consistent, be profitable, make money. Um, I've beat it in my head for so long that when I feel like it's working, um, and anybody that knows me knows that beyond the technical side of trading, I'm mainly all psychology, and that's just really all I teach is
Mm.
psychology. That's my biggest thing. Um, so psychologically, mentally, I'm doing well. Um, you know, and I feel good. I feel good about where I'm at. I feel good about my execution and how well I'm doing my job. I just try to leave it alone, and enjoy life, and spend time with my family, relax a little bit, get my mind off the charts.
Mm.
Um,
Yeah,
so that's when I'm not back testing, that is why.
certainly. Interesting. And your strategy, I know you mentioned there the one trade. Is that is that a very much a one and done, or is it maybe scale-ins applied as well? So if there's a second bite, maybe splitting the risk, or are you just kind of like one and done specifically?
So the way I trade, I actually so um can I actually show you? Can I share my
Yes,
screen and show
absolutely.
you on
Yeah,
GU
certainly. Yeah,
or something,
absolutely. Yeah,
just so it makes some sense?
surely. So I've just enabled there, so you should be able to share your screen.
Cool. Let's go ahead and go like this. All right. Can you see
Lovely.
it all right?
I can indeed. Yeah, absolutely.
Okay. So just kind of walk you through it a little bit here. We'll just do this. All right. Here's an example. Okay. So it's kind of messy,
Mm.
but right in here, this is where I got my demand zone. Okay. Because we broke up, we broke this structure. Now, am I seeing buys all the way up here? I could potentially see it come back up there, right? Just
Mhm.
kind of think or go through what I would think at this time. Could I see some rejection here? More than definitely. This is actually a supply, right?
Mhm.
We had momentum candles break the structure, right? We're still going down.
Fair value. Yep.
So my first take profit area would have been this area here. But ultimately, could I see it come back and just kind of fill in these imbalances before going down again? Definitely. So we had the demand here. This isn't the prettiest one. Um, but anyways, we pushed up, we broke structure. Okay, once we came back to the zone, I didn't take it. All right, I didn't take it just because of how fast it came back. We didn't really see any momentum. Glad I did because once it came back in here fully a little bit more and then back in here, okay, a lot of people when they trade supply and demand, if the candles go outside of their zone, it's invalidated.
Mm.
And what I've really tried to learn is sometimes I would enter the trade and I'd have my stop loss, let's say right here. I'd put my stop loss right here, right below the zone just to give it some room. My entry would be up here. A lot of times it'd want to come down, sweep liquidity, stop me out, and then go. And so I've really tried to be patient with my entries, let the trade show itself. And then if it comes back in and it pushes up once more, then I still take the setup as valid. So once we came down, I saw the rejection here within the 1 minute and the 5 minute. I did enter. Uh, so I entered about right here. Now I know that the um, original tool was different, but I like to move them around and just see, because after every trade I take, I review it. So entered in here. I think I had a 9 or 10 pip stop loss. Yeah, it was 10 pips. TP1 was here. And so I entered. And I mean, basically the rest was history. So once I get in, I don't know if I should show you this. This is kind of like my bread and butter, but keep this top secret.
Mhm.
So this is the fib, right? Basic fib
Yeah.
levels. Okay, a lot of times I take it from the top of my take profit down to the bottom of the demand, um, or bottom of the move. So not really a full swing high, swing low, just kind of my I guess you could say trading strategy. So um, basically I follow it like a ladder, right? So once it gets to a certain level, I then bring my stop loss with it. There's a lot of times where you could enter, like let's say you entered here or here. There's a lot of times it could come up,
Mm.
reject, and then come all the way down, and you don't know why. You don't know why it just flipped like that. So using the fib has helped me do that a lot, cut my losses, so on and so on and so on. So it came up, immediately rejected the 0.5. I'm seeing it can come back to the 0.382 or come back into this zone and mess around once more. So I did not move my stop loss at that point. I wanted to leave my stop loss here. I did not move my stop loss until it's proven to me that it's broken a certain level and that I can follow with my stop loss. So once it came back in here, rejected once more, pushed up. Once we broke through here and we hit above the 382 level and we closed basically 75% of the way through it, I brought my stop loss up here to the 236 level. Or maybe it was break even. Anyways, it was about up here. Yeah, brought it to break even. So I was in here. It came back, came up again. And I was knowing that we were going to get some type of rejection here. So I think, yeah, I didn't move it to 236 because I didn't want to suffocate it. That's just something I've learned over time from doing it, and then I end up losing the trade or get stopped out early.
Mm. Tends to happen
So
quite a lot, doesn't it? The break even
yeah, it
stop.
happens quite a lot. And I used to be somebody that said, never bring your stop losses to break even. If especially with supply and demand, because you're trading a key zone, a key area, right? So what's to say it's not going to want to come back again, and there's more orders sitting in here, right? And
More
then they want to
liquidity to
go up.
take.
Yeah, more liquidity to take, fill some more orders, whatever it may be. So, if I was willing to risk 1%, then I was willing to risk 1% until I closed,
Mm.
that trade or it hit my take profit or it hit my stop loss. And man, a lot of the times, it would go up to, let's say it'd go up all the way up here and then it would come all the way back down to break even. And maybe the trade would have won, right? Not to say that the trade would have stopped me out, but the mental side of things after that, it would destroy me, right?
Mm.
I would have been up, 3, 4%, however much, and then it just reversed all the way on me, and I would have no idea why. And then it turns into that point of, well, if it can just go back up, then I'll close it. Blah 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 blah. No, if it's gonna do that, just get me out. So I adapted this, um, and I believe once it got up in here, I did end up closing, just because I saw the rejection again. So if I can find a better demonstration here, beautiful. There it is. That's
Lovely.
perfect. All right, let's go ahead and get all this off. Okay. So supply, right? Break a structure to the downside here. Sorry, that last one wasn't the best demonstration. So break a structure here, add momentum candles, breaking the structure, right? We now have our demand or our supply zone. So if I'm going to target this area here, is take profit. I'm going to go ahead and grab my fib. I'm going to go from the bottom of take profit to the top of the demand or supply. Price comes in, hits, pushes all the way up. Ultimately, it rejects. I take the break of candle. Break a candle means that the candle that leaves the zone
It's engulfed.
ultimately overtakes that size of the candle there. So I got in around here. I like my stop loss above the zone, just because I believe if you put it above the wick at any time, it can come and just grab liquidity right above that wick.
Mm.
So take profit down here. Price came down, hit 0.5, worried me a little bit, came back up. Once it came down here, I believe we had some type of little news push or whatever, but I mean, take profit was hit at the end of the day. So it was,
Good trade.
um,
Yeah.
yeah, it was a good trade. 1 to 2 RR.
Very clear
Um,
process.
yeah, very clear. Same thing here.
Mm.
See how they grab liquidity. I entered here, right? I entered here. And I think I actually lost originally. And then this was one of those ones where I saw the rejection, right? And then I entered back in. And then I took it all the way up again. So I mean, just that happens so many times. Look at here, does it
Mm.
again. All right, how many times it actually comes down and just and grabs liquidity and then goes back up is limitless, and
Yeah.
it'll drive you crazy. So that's something that this fib, like once it hits zero point 0.5 and closes above that, I typically move stop loss to 236 or 382. Once it goes up here, closes above 618, stop
Wouldn't
loss to however you want to be aggressive, 0.5 or 382. So even at any point,
have. Mm.
once this comes back and it's showing signs that it doesn't want to go any further, it gets me out, right? It gets me out. If it comes back to the zone and it shows signs that, okay, this is the same move, it just wanted to hit the zone again, then you can re-enter.
Mm.
um Same thing as well, I've gotten really good at cutting my losses. um if immediately price is coming up to this 382 here and it's showing me rejection, right, and I'm just immediately getting dumbfounded, I probably would just close it, right? If it's coming up here and it's rejecting really hard, going back to the zone, bouncing off that, if it's just a complete mess, I'll close it, whether it was, break even, a little tiny profit, or a little bit of a loss, and then I'll just let the trade show itself.
Mm.
Um,
Having
so I let it
clarity.
just,
Having
yeah,
clarity is the most
basic,
important thing, really, isn't it? Regardless whether the trade's going for you and it's yielding the results you want, or it's maybe not doing what you expected and you're becoming maybe it's maybe just not giving you the confirmation that maybe it did initially, and then being able
yeah,
to adapt. Because I think with a lot of traders, being able to adapt to the changing market conditions is probably something that a lot of traders maybe doesn't do that well.
yeah,
So
it gets
absolutely.
definitely gets difficult to do that, man. I mean, it really, really does. And a lot of times, while I'll just cut it and just let the trade show itself, it very well may leave me, and that's happened to me plenty of times. But I'd rather just take what I have right now, let it, show me what it's gonna do, and then from that point on, execute accordingly. I actually lost today on
Mm.
this GU trade. Um, Price came up, boom, we broke this structure a little bit, came back, and then we broke structure again. This was a high quality demand for me,
Mm.
right? This was a high quality demand. We had a gap here, right? Came back. I didn't really like the momentum back to the zone, right? That was a quick drop.
Very choppy.
But yeah, once we got into here, okay, we're pushing up a little bit, rejecting the zone. And then I saw this. Now, doji, whatever you want to call it. what I saw was some nice rejection, especially on the 1 minute. Every time it hit this zone, it bounced back up. The XY was doing the same thing. And then I believe I entered right here. And so really, the one thing that I can't fix is when you enter and then it just does this,
Mm.
right? I can't,
You
unless
can't legislate for that.
Yep. I mean, I can, kind of prevent that with the type of quality of setup that I'm picking. But at the end of the day, I mean, the market's the daggone market. And if that happens, then, then at that point I do lose my 1 or 2%, and there's nothing you can do about it. So I entered, it was just one of those things that it came up a little bit, right? It was showing, beautiful signs, and then it just dropped, right? And DXY was not very nice and did this, right?
Mm. Mm.
This is what did that to me.
Yeah.
It screwed me up, and there's, nothing you can do about it. But at the end of the day, a loss, yeah, it sucks, but I'm not mad about it.
Yeah.
I did what I was supposed to do. So
At the end of the
yeah, I
day,
just
you're still following your process. You're
yeah,
having that checklist, following the plan as best of your abilities. And as you say, the markets are going to do what the markets are going to do. You're not always
yeah,
going to win, and you can have the perfect setup and follow your plan to the T, and your trade could still lose.
yeah.
Uh,
It's just
and
the way of the game.
it's just the way
Yeah.
it is, just the way it
But
goes.
this strategy has more than been generous to me. When I first started, I was kind of trying to find my strategy, right? Once I actually found a strategy and learned it, and I have not switched. I've never once switched my strategy. Um, I can't even tell you how to trade fair value gaps or anything. Like,
Mm.
I don't know. I refuse to sit there on YouTube and watch another strategy.
Mm.
And I just, not to say that it's a bad strategy. People make a lot of money, right? There's people that make more money than me doing different things, but it's just what works for me. I believe,
It's
you are what you surround yourself, with, and you are what you consume, right? If you eat bad food, you're going to be physically unhealthy. You bring in, negative, things into your mind that you don't really need, and poison yourself, then you're going to be negative mentally, right? A
mm.
cloud of judgment. And so I just try to protect myself in that sense. But I mean, this strategy is, I think, my craziest account. I brought 100K account up 28% in 6 trading days, and I only risked maybe 1 or 2%. That was it. And I mean, this strategy here, 400K accounts. I mean, I was passing them within 3 trades, 2 phases, 3 trades.
Mm.
Just just finding a high quality setup, managing my risk, following my stop loss, and that's it.
Quality over quantity, making sure you're following the
That's it.
process. Simple, keep it
That's
simple.
it.
I
Yeah.
used to always be told a saying, keep it simple, stupid. You don't have to overcomplicate or
Yeah.
reinvent the wheel, so to speak,
Exactly.
which is hugely interesting. Really, really, really deep insights there, which is brilliant. And I suppose,
I can't go into detail too much.
no, certainly, of course, I completely
But
understand,
yeah.
completely understand. But even still, it's a good observation. It's a really good observation. And I suppose with everything, it's strategy, it's process, it's structure, being able to know exactly what you're doing, why you're doing it, and then you're building that experience over time. And then, of course, then after that, then you've got the journaling sides. Then it's just like reviewing your performance. What did you do right, as we talked about earlier? What did you do wrong? Emphasizing that it's always a journey, all about learning. And I think you're probably one of the first people that say, well, once you think you know it all, that's when the whole
No.
house of cards will come crumbling down, I guess.
Yeah. I mean, to tell you the truth, I mean, there was a time that I think I made 94, 95K in 1 month. And I think I mean, I spent maybe an hour on the charts each morning. I mean, it was just a great month.
Mm.
It was good. And, not to say I was cocky. I wasn't cocky. I've never really been cocky. But my biggest mistake was thinking that because I did it once, it's going to come again.
Mm.
Right. And
It,
before I'd been consistent, right? I had been consistent and I was making money like that consistently. It wasn't like I just, I got a moonshot and it landed. Um, and I think this was just kind of in the back of my mind, maybe since I did it this time, the money, I understand what I'm doing
Mm,
per se,
mm,
and that I can do this again. And, spending some money right now is not really a problem. And
interesting.
so,
Yeah.
um, I think mentally, I think I just got myself there a little bit. I went and, bought some very nice things, all cash, right?
Mm,
And then I hit a bad month, right? Then I hit a bad month, and the psychological warfare that you go through at that time, right? It's just it's unlike anything else. I've been through, just like anybody else, tough times in life that really test your character and things like that. But I've never dealt with anything like that before. Really, really, really having to spend time with yourself and take care of your mind and understand that people say it's 80% psychology or 20% technical. No, 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 no. It's 100% psychology and it's 100% technical, right? If your psychology is out of whack, it can make your entire technical side go out the window,
mm, mm,
right? I have genuinely sat at the charts before and made myself believe that there was a genuine setup, even though if I looked at the technical side of it, it had no signs that it was a winning trade.
yeah.
But my mind made me believe, because in the back of my mind, I knew I needed to make a certain type of or a certain amount of money for whatever was coming down the line for bills or whatever it may be, or replenish funds that I had dipped into or whatever. Your mind can make you do that. I say all the time that people say somebody's vehicle or their bedroom is a direct representation of their mindset. Okay, take that a step further and look at your MetaTrader, right? If your MetaTrader, if you understand what you're doing as a trader and you understand how to manage risk and you understand what your edge is in this market, look at your MetaTrader. If you're gone mentally, it will show.
Mm,
Right? Not to say that you can't be doing everything right and still go on a losing streak. I'm saying way over risking, moving your stop loss double the size, taking double the loss, removing the stop loss, blowing the account, doing absolutely everything wrong.
adding in
That's all from your mind.
adding in a number of positions, maybe in drawdown or whatever.
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah. It's all
convers
it all comes from your mindset, right? And I was there. Before I went full time, I was a barber, right? I became a barber and I cut hair for a long time. And how badly I wanted out of that job was an understatement, right? I mean, I couldn't explain to you how bad I wanted to be done. And um, I mean, I remember there was a time that, I by accident washed up a $17,000 payout, $19,000 payout. I was on my MetaTrader. A text message came across the top of my screen. I swiped down to try and enter or text back, and I accidentally entered the trade. Sure enough,
mm,
sure enough, and I lost the whole thing. I lost the whole thing. And I mean, to go through, feeling like, that was like my first, one of my first like solid payouts in my entire journey. Um, So to go from, wanting to get out of your situation so bad, and then, the situation I was dealt with, you could probably understand the psychological problems you're faced with. But I think the biggest thing that so many traders are facing nowadays is it comes down to what you see, right? If all you see is people traveling the world and living this life that you want to live, and then you look at yourself and you look at your life and examine your situation, you're not going to feel right. You're not going to feel content with your place in life at the moment. And then a lot of people, they go and try to um, basically redo what they just saw, right? um, so I think it just comes down from people trying to move too fast, and the pressure they put on themselves. The biggest thing for me is how much pressure I put on myself
mm,
over and over and over and over again, to the point that, not that I'd be, the kid on the sports team that cried when they lost, but I took losses hard. I took it
mm,
really, really hard. And that was because, I wanted out of my job so bad. If all these other people could do it, why can't I? What am I not understanding? Um, I need this amount of money for the end of the month to pay these bills. I need this amount of money to get out of my job, so on and so on and so on. I put so much pressure on myself that I wasn't trading to trade. I mean, I was really coming to look at this screen here like it was my therapist,
Mm.
where it was a genie in the bottle.
Yeah.
So a 1% gain on a 100K account, I wasn't happy with it, even though I knew how long it would take me to make $1,000 in a day cutting hair. It's impossible.
Mm.
It's impossible without having, chronic body pain. You see what I mean?
Mm.
And so I think it's just so easy for people to never feel like they have enough.
That's where the
Um,
greed comes in. That's where the greed
yeah,
comes in, isn't it?
and to be patient,
Mm.
to know that there's always another trading day tomorrow, right? There's
There'll always be more
365
opportunities.
days in the year. Yeah, I mean,
Mm.
just relieve the pressure off yourself and don't ever, ever, ever count on Forex or money from Forex, right? Until it has completely surpassed everything else that you make, you know, by multiple,
Mm.
to the point where what you're doing as a day job doesn't make sense anymore. Right. And then even then, I mean, if you're trading and you're making all this, money and you have a day job, well, now I'm sure you could enjoy your day job a little bit more because it's not what you depend on. Once something becomes a job and you put all this pressure and emotion on it, then
Mm.
you struggle a little bit, and that was really my biggest hurdle. I knew how to trade. I knew what I needed to do. Obviously there were still more things to learn, but it was me over and over and over again. It was completely my own mindset. And then it was how I treated myself. And, um, knowing that if I could make a certain amount of money, then all my problems could just go away. Right.
Yeah.
And so I try to make some, completely, completely untouchable amount with the capital that I had within a day. I was looking at every trade like that. And I had to lose enough money to learn the hard way.
Hard way, yeah, for sure, for
Simple as
sure.
that.
And I suppose with the journey, particularly with new people, because there's every day there's people washing in and washing out and coming into the industry. What do you think that new traders nowadays, if they're entering the markets today, what should they focus on to really develop that consistency and success?
Yeah. I think it starts with a conversation with yourself before anything. And I think what that conversation with yourself is, um, are you a consistent person already? Do you show up to work on time? Are you consistently there for people that love you and need you? Um, do you brush your teeth every day? Right? Do you clean up your room consistently? I mean, all these things you really need to ask yourself, are you consistent?
Yeah.
Um, is this just something that you Googled up on Google, how to make a lot of money online, how to make 1,000 a day, right? Have you already tried drop shipping? Have you already tried absolutely everything else there is, and now you've landed yourself with the opportunity to trade? Ask yourself this question, right? It's okay if you're not consistent with things, and it's okay if by searching the internet trying to find a way to make a lot of money online you found yourself here. That's okay, but you need to analyze that stuff for yourself and realize this is a very, 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 very expensive
Opportunity.
try. Yeah, right. To say I'm gonna give it a try and just see. No, you're gonna get in, you're gonna lose, it's gonna hurt.
Hmm.
And if you're not willing to continue to get that outcome over and over and over and over and over and over and over again with the hope or the drive that one day you will get a different effect, right? um I think that's just more of a personal question, right? The first thing you need to focus on is this something that you will let change your life, right? Because it changed my life. I'm a completely different person because I started trading and I invested my everything into this, right? So I think just for beginners and what I tell people, my students or people I come across with in everyday life, it's you have to be able to lose and then lose a little bit more, and you have to be able to change, right? And you have to be okay with not knowing the outcome sometimes, right? Um, You go to school for 4 years, you're guaranteed a diploma or a degree if you know have your grades up. Not guaranteed a certain job, but most of everybody's going to get some type of job. There's no timeline on this. You know what I mean? There's nothing, and so you really have to just say, I'm going to do it no matter what, right? Um, whether it takes 2 years, it takes 5 years, it takes 10 years. You just have to be that kind of person and not give up. I think me, and it sounds a little deep, but I will spend my entire life trying to do this and master this to the point where I can provide a beautiful life for myself and my family and generations to come, or I will die trying. That's it. That's it. Because my only other option is to go back to cut hair.
Yeah.
Right. Or try to go do construction, which I absolutely hated both. Right. I did not really enjoy my life. I was struggling to maintain being content with my current situation. And so it'll either make me rich or I'll die trying to become rich from it. And that determination, I think, is just something you have to have.
It
Right.
goes
You have
back
to have it.
goes back to the song "Get Rich or Die Trying."
Yeah. I think I
Absolutely.
lost 15 or 20 grand before I ever saw a dollar. Before I ever saw $1. I easily lost 15 or 20 grand.
You have
No
to
doubt.
you have to be prepared to fail. You have to be prepared to make mistakes. And
Yeah.
you have to be
I mean,
prepared then to learn from them, right? Because there's no point making the same mistakes over and over again, but not
yeah.
actually learning anything from them. And I think
I
the
mean,
lesson there is being able to learn from those mistakes. And a lot of traders aren't.
yeah.
And a lot of traders don't learn from those mistakes. It's like Groundhog Day, or what's to say, the definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over again and
Yep.
expecting a different result.
Say that all the time. Yeah. And I mean, imagine looking back, I mean, what if I quit when I lost 11 grand?
Mhm.
Right. I mean, what if I quit then? I came to a crossroads with myself of I can't lose any more money, not at the rate I am.
Mhm.
So I either need to stop doing it the way that a hunter wants to do it and start doing it like a trader would do it, or you need to find something else. Right? You need to do this the way it needs to be done and see what happens, or you need to find something else. Right?
Absolutely. Yeah.
And I mean, I came to that crossroads, and I mean, I thank God that He gave me the will, you know, and the motivation to
Keep going.
keep going. Yeah, because I mean, there were so many times I didn't think I could. There's even times now that feels like that. Right? I mean, it doesn't go away. It doesn't go away. And I think financially, once you get, stable enough, I think the worry can kind of go away a little bit of ever going back to ground zero. But I don't know. I just don't think you could ever become too comfortable.
No.
And I
You can
think,
get humbled
if
very
it,
quickly.
yeah. And I
Right.
think just if somebody said, what was the biggest thing about this, that's what I tell them. That you have to be somebody that's prepared to lose even when you already lost, you know. Because who knows, the next time you did it could have been the time that you really learned something crucial that changed the whole path for you, you know. I have people in my mentorship that have passed challenges and they've only been in it now for the whole game for a few months, right? They never passed anything until they, came to the group and learning things. And I also have people in the group that have been trading for 10 years that are just now finally passing accounts. Everybody's different. But I think what we all have to have in common is one thing: we're all human, right? We all have emotions and brains and act off of impulses. But what you have to have more than anything is focusing on who you are, right? Focusing on your triggers, right? Who you are personally, what makes you greedy, what makes you do certain type of things, and just be willing to take on, easily one of the hardest challenges you've ever taken on in your life. But the result that you can get is living a life that you never thought you would have lived. right? I mean, it's what do you want, right? What do you want? That's really what I tell people. And then technical side, actually learning the trade side, you don't need a mentor. I genuinely believe you don't need a mentor, right? Um, all you need to learn is you need to learn the basics. You need to understand what, spreads are, right? You need to understand trading times, volume and trading times. When you see, movement in the market, what pairs are going to move, right? Just your basics, what pips are. I mean, how to calculate your stop loss, right?
Missions,
You
spreads.
need to learn all that stuff. Yeah, learn all that stuff. Spend time with it. Don't rush it. Actually enjoy it. That's the one thing I wish I did more. I looked at it like I needed to make money from it now instead of actually learning and trying to enjoy it a little bit more, because it became, I enjoyed it, but it became brutal, for how hard, I was trying to soak up
For
all
sure.
the information at once. So
Yeah.
learn that, spend time doing that stuff, and then just find yourself a strategy,
Mhm.
right? I think the biggest downfall is somebody tries a strategy for 2 weeks.
Gives up.
They start getting some L's and then they go and try to find another strategy, right? They go to YouTube, profitable Forex strategy. I mean, come on, right? If it's not working, then there's probably something you're doing that's making it not work. I don't care what strategy you trade, it can win, right? They can all be profitable, but it's how you trade it as a trader. You need to find what fits you. Do you want to just trade for a couple minutes out of the day, right? Are you someone that wants to be able to do it while you sleep? Um, do you like things to move slower, right? Do you want to hold it over multiple days? You got to find your personality in this. And that's why it brings me all the way back to what I was saying earlier about yourself and learning yourself. Is it strategies is going to fit your personality, right? And at the end of it, I mean, it's just you and a computer screen and a mouse. That's it. So finding it the best balance to fit yourself is the most important, right? And learn it. Don't change. There were so many times I wanted to change. I was trading one strategy and I see other people trading a different strategy and they won on the same trade, but my entry criteria would have been different because of the strategy I traded. And just learn it like the back of your hand, right? Like it's I said it the other day um to my members. It's like Kansas City Chiefs football team. You think they're gonna go in the daggum Super Bowl not knowing their plays, right? If one person doesn't do one thing and he's supposed to get the ball, or the right end was supposed to block the wide receiver so he could get a ball or get the pass, and he doesn't do it, do you think it's going to work out? No. You think that team's going to keep the momentum for the next plays and plays and plays and plays and plays and ultimately win? Nope. That other team that's looking to get you is going to capitalize on all your mistakes. I promise you this will capitalize on every single one of your mistakes, right? So you got to learn your playbook. I mean, you got to know your edge in the market, what gives you the upper hand and what puts the probabilities in your court. Once you throw that out the window, well, you know,
Rest is history.
yeah,
Sure.
pray or whatever you need to do, listen to some, you know, opera or something, whatever you need to do to relax,
So,
because
yeah,
you,
yeah,
you've
absolutely.
lost, you've lost what you need to do. It's also like a recipe,
Mm.
right? If you're a cook, you show up and they look for consistency. Cook the same plate of food the same way every single time. No matter how the customer wants to dress it,
Mm.
maybe they want less salt, right? And that being that the market looks different today, right? Maybe you're looking for sells or buys. Maybe they don't want any meat. Who knows? The backbone's always the same,
Mm.
and you should be able to know it as soon as it hits. As soon as it hits, be able to identify it. Um, so yeah, just learn obviously the basics. Have these conversations with yourself. Know that you're going to go through financial distress if this is really what you want to do, and you have to be okay with that, and know that other people are probably going to be affected by it too, ones that you love, right? You're losing money, maybe you guys can't go out to eat or something like that. So it's kind of, if you're alone and you're single and that's it, then I guess it doesn't really matter. But you got to think of other people, and just take it slow, man. Just take it slow. Take it slow. And I guess that's really all I'd say
Yeah.
to him.
Brilliant. Brilliant. What a call. What a call. What a conversation, I must say. Hugely in depth. Brilliant conversation today. Well, I don't think there's any better way to end the conversation really than that. Thank you very
Yeah, I
much for
appreciate
joining
it,
us
man.
today,
It's
Hunter.
yeah,
Mills
it's
of
been
X.
wonderful.
It's been a really insightful details call, and I hope the audience finds some not necessarily it's going to make everything tick for them and or the light bulb moment, but
Yeah,
there's definitely a lot of nuggets of good information in this conversation today. So thank you very much for joining us today.
of course, of course. I think the last thing that I'd say to anybody that's gonna watch this video is just you're not alone and don't quit. Just because you see all over the media and YouTube and your phone or whatever that these people are having these winning streaks and buying all these nice things, they don't show you the losses, right?
Mm.
Don't look at somebody else's plate or think that their steak looks better cooked than yours. Learn how to perfect your own, right? Just stop paying attention to it. Don't give up. Just keep going. Right now, but I know tomorrow I have to show back up and I have to do it again because my why and my will to do this is too strong. So just don't give up. Don't give up.
Brilliant. Well, thank you very much for joining us today, sir. Thank you very
Of course,
much.
man. Of course.
Brilliant. And look,
Of
I'll tell
course,
you
man.
what, we'd love to have you on again in the future. I think this is a call that people will definitely probably want a second one in the future. So it'd be an absolute honor to have you back again. Best of
Yeah,
luck
man. Be my pleasure.
from us at ACG. Best of luck for the rest of the year and for the future.
Thanks, man.
And it's an absolute pleasure to have you on today. Thank you very much.
Of